Hi, I'm Deborah Boschert. I live in Crofton, Maryland, right outside Washington, D.C., and I just want to thank you so much for joining me to talk about collage with fabric and stitching. I'm really excited to share with you some creative ideas, and I hope that you come away with lots of inspiration to take with you to your own creative process. Let's start by looking at a little bit of my work. What I do is fabric collage, and I love incorporating all kinds of elements. So this piece here is called Plentiful, and some of the things that we are going to be talking about in this workshop are incorporated in this collage. Hand stitching, lots of hand stitching, some along the top here, some French knots, and throughout the rest of the collage. Also, I love incorporating sheer fabrics into my collage. So this is fused organza. And I also have a little bit of tulle, which is fun. I just think it's so fun that you can see that green fabric peeking through the tulle. Also, there's some free motion quilting, and I'll talk about improvisational composition also in the workshop. This next piece here is called Ikat Gathered. This fabric here in the center of the collage is Ikat fabric, so I took that for the title. And again, you'll see hand embroidery, sheer fabrics. This stripe of teal organza is the sheer element that is included on this collage. And again, I think it's so cool to see the fabrics peeking through, especially this orange here, and then a little bit of the orange there, and then the stitching on top of the sheer fabric. And then you'll also see that these quilts have some interesting finishing techniques that we'll talk about in the last chapter. This piece here is called Verdant Vista, and this is the piece that we'll be walking through as step-by-step in this workshop. So again, you see all of those elements that I love so much: hand embroidery, free motion quilting, sheer fabrics, kind of a fun improvisational composition, and some interesting finishing techniques. So those are the collages that I wanted to give you a little preview of. And now the very first thing that I would do in beginning any project is pull together a variety of fabrics that would be my palette. So let's start by talking about commercial prints. I've chosen this beautiful batik as my focus fabric. And when I say focus fabric, I don't necessarily mean that it will be the focus of the collage, but it gives me a focus for my color palette, and I'll be choosing fabrics inspired by the beautiful teals and blues and greens and even little bits of yellow in this particular fabric. So I've got all of these commercial prints that I've pulled out of my fabric drawers, and I definitely won't be using them all. But if I have a nice selection of fabrics to choose from, then I'm forced to make some creative decisions and move along with the process. It also keeps me from running back and forth to my fabric drawers or even zipping off to the quilt shop, though there is a quilt shop within walking distance of my home, so it's tempting. So here's a blue that I've chosen, blue and teal. And here's a green that I've pulled out, and this has some teeny tiny flowers on it. Now you might think it would be challenging to combine such a contemporary design with such a traditional design, but I think it's really interesting to mix them, and we'll talk about some ways to tie them together. Here's another commercial graphic print that I've chosen because I want to have both darks and lights. This fabric I actually got in the ugly bin at a quilt shop, so you just never know where you might find something that's inspiring. I don't think it's ugly at all. Here's another very traditional, just green with little white dots. Another fairly traditional print, but it pulls in the exact colors that I'm looking for with the blue and the green and the yellow. It's also great that it has a white background because I'm really going to be able to get a lot of contrast between this light print and like this dark print or this dark print. Now here's just a small piece. No piece is too small, so in fabric collage I might use just a small square, so this could definitely be something to consider.